Hey folks, Don Galade here from Kingdom Financial Ministries. I've been in the financial services industry for well over 30 years. Recently, things have changed that altered the way I do business. I think it may change the way you invest. Stay tuned. You're going to want to hear this. Hey folks, Don Galade here from Kingdom Financial Ministries. Kingdom Financial Ministries is a registered investment advisor firm. You can click the links below and get all that good information about who we are, what we do, and how we do it. This video will be short, sweet, and to the point. We've learned some things and we want to share those things with you because I think it is of interest, especially to those that have considered themselves to be either Christian or of a religious nature. I've been in this industry for over 30 years, and 10 of it I've been a registered investment advisor firm. And, I have seen a lot of things in my time, and I thought I've seen and heard it all until I was reading the Wall Street Journal a while back, and I started to see these quotes from this organization called Inspire Investing, and I thought, well, what is this? And Inspire is basically a biblical investing organization. They basically, they're money managers, but they do everything from a biblical or a moral and ethical standpoint with regard to the investments that they recommend. So it's kind of interesting. I've heard of entities like this before, and in my experience, they've charged more fees and didn't have as much growth, and so I never really gave it much look. But something caught my eye with this particular group, and like I said, 30 years, you've kind of seen it all, done it all, but I just had this yearning inside to check them out, and I'm really glad I did, because not only did I learn some things, I think I learned some things that I need to share with everybody with regard to our investment structure and in regard to what we invest in. And what really caught my eye was in the book this gentleman wrote, he was talking that he had no idea that he was making money from abortions. And I was like, what? And as a pro-life individual, very staunch pro-life individual, I thought, oh, what does that mean? And then he started saying how the investments weren't in abortions, but the companies that he was recommending mutual funds and stocks and bonds, et cetera, from. But those companies were then taking their resources or their underlying funds, and then they were supporting, in this instance, abortions. And I was like, so indirectly, the client's money was funding abortions, and he made commission off that, or advisor fees off that, and indirectly he was making money off abortions. And it was kind of a mind-blowing moment for me, because I've written some books about what God says about money, and I never thought, wow, I'm unaware that this was even a thing. So as I started to look into their solution, it was pretty interesting. They basically have a score that they give every single company or every single investment, and the score goes from minus 100 to plus 100, and it's weighted on many different factors. And but the gist is, you can then get a thumbnail sketch of every single investment you have on how they rate biblically, emotionally, morally, value with what you feel. So ironically, there's red and green. Go and stop. So red is things like abortion and human trafficking and pornography, and green is they care about the environment. They care about doing good things with the resources they have. And they basically then rate each company accordingly. Now, here's Smuggers, and I'm not condoning this company. I'm not advocating for them. I'm not offering investments from them. I'm just, they just happen to be one of the people that's on the website. So, but here you could see they have a positive score of 67, which is actually kind of remarkable. And they have nothing triggered in the red category, which basically allows them to have such a high score. Now, that doesn't mean you just run right out and buy Smucker stock, basically, but then you could say, okay, well, what are their earnings, and what has the company done, and what does their balance sheet look like? And then you take the normal steps that you would before you would purchase a particular stock, but you have this, I guess, another arrow in your quiver, because you know that these folks line up with, if you're a Christian or you have a moral compass, then they're lining up with what you think, and that's kind of cool, and it gets a little more interesting as we go on. But here is the Vanguard 500 index. It's probably in the majority of the 401ks and IRAs out there. Once again, not saying good, bad, or indifferent for anything for Vanguard, but you'll notice that this particular index fund has over 31% of their funds are promoting abortion, and 61% in the LGBT activism. If that's something that is a concern for you, then this may be something that would be concerning to own. And I'm not saying run out and cash this in because you're a Christian. I'm just saying I'm giving you some data. I'm giving you things to consider and some things to look into from an evaluation standpoint. Now, here is the SPDR, or the S&P 500 ETF. Once again, 24% for the abortion category and 66% in LGBT activism. This particular ETF could be in a giant portion of 401ks and IRA investment programs that are out there. So what does one do? One says, okay, what am I really invested in? Yes, I know I have XYZ company and ABC stock, but not knowing what they do with their money, if that's a concern, then ironically, what are you invested in? Because you've technically invested in those organizations. So you basically have two options at that point. You're saying, hey, do I want what the world has, or do I want what the Word has? And you have a couple of different options. Previously, you've heard of things such as green funds and environmental social governance, or ESG, as it was called. And now we have these faith-based investments, and there's different categories. There's the biblical responsible investing, and for our brothers that are follow the Sharia law, or our Jewish friends, there's kosher, and there's basically entities that give you a barometer or a thermometer, a way to measure what is out there versus what you currently have, and does it align with what you feel? So my first question was, but do most people care? Does anybody really care? Well, yeah, when you start to look at the percentages, this is the millennials and then the folks that are not millennials, and that's why this particular chart is, but you'll notice that overwhelmingly, a majority of people in general care about things that have a moral or social compass that they have their money in. And when you look at that same kind of governance amongst investors versus advisors, there's not a lot of advisors out there that are doing this. And previously, myself included, myself a Christian, myself a pro-life individual who really stands on what God says, I was part of the problem, not even realizing it. And now I want to be part of the solution. And in order to do that, I need to tell you what this is, so you can then take it from there and do some homework. So what does BRI look like? Well, basically, we just take the portfolio you have. All I need is the ticker symbols for the different stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. And every single one of them gives you a score. It gives you a ticker, if you will, that just marks off what this company does or does not do. And then from there, then you get a cumulative score for your entire portfolio. And then you say, okay, my portfolio is plus 10, minus 15, whatever. And then if you have a concern with that, we can show you to find like investments that are similar to the ones that don't line up morally, and you can then basically balance your portfolio accordingly. But what I thought was really, really cool was obviously advisors make money from fees, and these folks, these Inspire folks, take half of the fees they generate, and they have something they call it the Give 50, where they take 50% of what they are bringing in and they sow it back into God's kingdom. Clean water, ending slavery, caring for the poor, distributing Bibles, feeding the homeless. I mean, it's just a really, really awesome thing that not only are they showing you which stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds have a moral compass that is similar or exceeds what you want, but they're also taking half of what they make and then they're sewing it back into the kingdom of God. So if you had a $250,000 portfolio, just as an example, with this particular entity, 333 people have got clean water. 1,250 people received Bibles. 1,147 kids got Christmas presents through the Shoebox Gift Sharing Ministries. There's 200 babies that were saved. There's over 1,000 people that have heard the gospel. So it's how awesome is this? Not only is your portfolio rebalanced, hopefully making better money. Disclaimer: I can't guarantee that. I'm just saying hopefully. But not only that, the funds that you're paying, half of that is being resown back into God's kingdom. So it's pretty cool. So basically, it boils down to that right now there's 26% of all of the assets that are in managed accounts are falling into this social governance where people really care about what they're invested in. So from the Christian standpoint, there's 105 million evangelicals, 68 million Catholics, and 48 million mainline Protestants. So there's $21 trillion of funds that these folks have invested. Well, if everybody took the steps to have this biblical, responsible investing mentality, not only would the investments align with what God has done and said we should do with our money, but also the money that is being charged in fees is being sown back into God's kingdom. What an amazing thing. If my people will humble themselves, I mean, the Lord will just do amazing things. Paraphrasing, of course. Now, moving along. Now, so basically, what do we do? So the purpose for this video is to raise awareness, is to say to people, look, this exists. This is an issue. Is it something you should be concerned about? That's up to you. If we have a conversation, whether it be in person, whether it be on the phone, whether it be through Skype, we can basically then share some dialogue, share some information, and I can provide you guys with a report that says, here is what you have, here is how it aligns, here is what your particular scores are. So the time to act is now to get your free report. Basically, it's real simple. There's a button below. You just click that. You're going to go to my calendar, not somebody in my office, not somebody that works for us, but my calendar, and then we are going to book a time where we're going to chat, and whether it's in person or online or on the phone, and we're going to talk about what you have, sharing some information that I'm going to be able to put together a report for you that says, here's what you got. Then from there, we take the next step, whatever that next step could be, which is, totally up to you, and that's part of the conversation we would have. But it all starts with that report, and it's totally free, and there's no obligation. And even if you don't do business with us, you still obviously get all that data. So the time to act is now. Click that button, book time on the calendar. All we need is really 20 minutes for an initial call. Find out if there's anything that I can possibly help you with. And if I can't, I've made a friend. It's awesome. Life is good. So click the button now. Share some data with me. Let's have a conversation, because this is real. And it's also not a better time than ever to rebalance your portfolio, because with the volatility that we're witnessing and the record highs and record lows seemingly back and forth, it's a great time to rebalance, even if you didn't have an extra reason saying, I care about the biblical aspect of my investments. So God bless you. Thank you for your time. Click the link and we'll chat soon. Take care. Thanks for watching. We hope you found this information as important as we did when we decided to deliver it to you. Now it's your turn. Click the link below so that we can have a conversation. You need to know what's in your portfolio, and we can help. Click the link now.